Now, friction, necessary evil. We Sometimes friction is friend to us, sometimes friction is enemy to us. We will discuss some our daily life activities where friction we need to increase the friction and sometimes we need to reduce the friction. So we want higher value of friction while we walk, while we run, while a wheel rolls, while we write on a board or while we write on a paper. And some players need increased value of friction, like kabaddi players. They need to hold their opponent with a firm grip. They need higher value of friction so that they can hold tight to their enemies. So these are some our daily life activities where we need a higher value of friction. Greater value of friction is needed, and sometimes we need reduced value of frictions. In machines, we need less value of friction. In motors, we need lesser value of friction. Motors like a motor of a fan, motor of a pump, motor of a cooler, we need to reduce friction. And we need to reduce friction in carom board, where a striker strikes a counter and bounce, rebounds, so many things happens, and we need lesser value of friction here. We need also lesser value of friction in ice skiing. All of you have seen skiing, ice skiing? We also need a lesser value of friction there also. So these are the cases where we need a greater value of friction, and these are the cases where we need a lesser value of friction. So to increase the friction, we do some additional arrangement, and also to reduce friction, we do some additional arrangement. So let us discuss about all these where we need and what arrangements are done. So while walking, we need a greater value of friction, and for that we use shoes having some special design in their sole, and that is called grooving. And for that, for walking, we need a shoe having sole with a greater value of friction, and friction is increased by making grooves on the sole of a shoe, which increase the friction. And this also helps us in walking. You have to change your shoes when your sole is weared out and grooves disappear from your shoes. You can notice that your the design beneath your sole has disappeared. When the design is disappeared, that design is not merely a design, that has a special purpose that increase the friction of your shoes, and you have to replace your shoes when that design disappears from your sole. So we need a fair amount of friction while we walking. Running, you have seen athletes run on track, and they need a special shoes that is called running shoes or spikes, and nails are fitted. And why nails are fitted on the running shoes? And that increase the friction. So to increase the friction while we run, we fit nails on the sole of a shoe. Now rolling also need a fair amount of friction, and for that you have seen the tires also on the surface of tire you will see various kind of designs, and that designs are not merely designs, they are designed to increase the friction. That grooves and treats designed on the surface of a tire that increase the friction, and that helps in rolling. You have seen that in muddy areas where friction is very less, tires do not roll. Tires roll, but the necessary friction is not provided by the surface. So tires do not roll over the surface, and they roll in a particular place. So for rolling we need friction, and to increase that friction we do some design on the surface of tires which increase the friction and also helps in rolling. So for rolling we need friction, and to increase that rolling friction we do we specially purposefully design on the surface of the tire which we call grooves and treats, and that grooves and treats helps in rolling, that increase the friction and helps the tire to roll over the surface. Now writing, we need a fair amount of friction while writing. There you can see, although it's from your plain eye, this blackboard seems very smooth, but actually this is not smooth. This is very rough, and this rough surface helps in writing on this blackboard. So to write on a particular surface, we need a fair amount of friction. I can show you, I have a book here, or you can see here is my tablet, and the friction of the face of the tablet is very less, and you can see that if I rub my chalk over this, no mark is seen. I cannot write anything. Why can't I write anything on the surface of my tablet? Just because the amount of friction which is needed to write on this surface of my tablet is not sufficient enough. So we cannot write anything on this glass surface or on the surface of the tablet. So anything which is smooth enough, where friction is not fair amount, we cannot write on that surface. Whereas I can write anything what I wish on this green board, just because this green board is designed in such a manner that it has a fair amount of friction, and whenever this chalk runs over this green board, this green board supply the needed amount of friction, and we are able to write on this green board. Similar case happens for our paper. Paper is also provides fair amount of friction, so that we can write with a pencil or pen, and that much friction is provided by this paper, and we are able to write on the surface of the paper. So we need fair amount of friction while writing on a board or writing on a paper, and that is designed in such a manner that needed friction is provided, and we are able to write on this. And if the needed friction is not provided by the surface, we cannot write. As we have seen that the surface of the tablet is not allowing me to write anything on the on its face. And now I am coming to players. You have seen kabaddi players, or you have seen players of tug of war. They also need fair amount of friction, and to increase the friction of their palm, a kabaddi player put some powders on their palm, and that powder increases the friction of their palm, and this helps the kabaddi players to hold their enemy, to grip their enemies in a very firm manner, so that their enemy is not escaped. And these are the cases, not all, these are few cases where we need a fair amount of friction, and we do several arrangements to increase the friction. So listen the video carefully and see where we need higher amount of friction and what are the arrangement made to increase the friction. Okay, in next video I will be going for reduction in friction.